Hi guys and welcome back to my booktube channel. My name is Sam and today we're going to have a really fun time because I have a really fun video planned for you. There's going to be lots of laughs and just craziness and wackiness, and it's going to be so fun and a perfect little holiday watch. Now, Christmas is over. I'm not going to pretend that it's not. It's Boxing Day as I film this. But I'm still going to upload this at least by the end of December, hopefully, because I spent a lot of time on this video. I really enjoyed this video. This is one of my most favourite videos and I can't wait to talk to you guys about all these books in the comments below. So please accept my humble apology that this video did not come out necessarily on time for Christmas. Can we just extend the Christmas period a little bit for this video? Thank you very much. But yeah, in today's video, I'll be reading gay Christmas rom-coms, which I'm very excited for. It's a potential second part into a series that I might be starting in the new year. A little bit more on that later in the video. But yeah, I'm going to be reading gay Christmas rom-coms, and those include these three books that I have in my hand right here. And yeah, we're going to be going into them. There'll be timestamps for each book. It'll be sectioned out. I don't know how to describe it. There'll be chapters. I think that's what it's called, chapters in the thing. So if you want to skip one book, you can. If you don't want spoilers on one book, you can skip it and come back to it when you've read it. Whatever you want to do. I just love having you here. Yeah, it'll all be timestamped below. Each book will have a synopsis, a non-spoilery section, and then spoilers. So be aware of that. So even if you just want to know what the book's about, you can watch the first part of it. But yeah, let's introduce the books. I'm kind of losing my train of thought. I promise I'm not drunk. I don't even drink. I'm just hyper. So the first book that we'll be reading will be Finding My Elf by David Valdes. The second book will be Look Up Handsome by Jack Strange. And then the final book that we'll be reading is The Merriest Misters by Timothy Janovsky. So those are our three Christmassy gay books, and it's gonna be a great it's gonna be a gay Christmas, and we're gonna love it. We're gonna have so much fun here, so stick around, watch this, and we'll talk about these books. Yeah, okay, let's go. And again, thank you for being here. Subscribe if you're not already. Let's get into some queer gay Christmas rom-coms. Okay, bye. Let's go. Go. Okay, so the first book that I chose to read was Finding My Elf by David Valdes. Now this book is just a lot of fun, and I'm not gonna lie and say that it was the best book ever. I'm not going to say it was the best written or the most sensical book ever, but it was a lot of fun and there was a lot of cringy moments. But anyway, the quick synopsis of this book is basically we follow Cameron, aka Cam, who is attending NYU. However, his grades aren't great and he is on a scholarship, so his pending results will decide his fate at NYU. So he goes home to his small town for Christmas, the typical kind of situation for these holiday things of someone returning to their small town home. The amount of times this happens in Christmas films, I think we're all used to it by now. But yeah, he goes back to his small town. It's not that small because there's been a new mall that's opened up recently, and they are on the lookout for elves to work at Santaland, or Santa's Grotto. I think it's Santaland. And basically he has to work as an elf, and this is one thing that like really shocked me, is like the American work culture I think really shines in this book, because as an elf you have to work every single day, and it's like this really intense situation. I was like, this is the most American thing ever. But yeah, he works as an elf, and there's this kind of competition of like who can be the most popular elf. The winner will get $5,000, and Cameron is like, if I win this, I could pay what I'm losing in my scholarship. If I do fail my grades, I can pay this $5,000 and continue to go to NYU. But then at the same time he's like, do I want to go back at NYU? Because I felt like such an outsider there, because being one of the only few gay people in this small town village, he was always the one that stood out. But then when he went to NYU, he was kind of the opposite. Everyone else was so flamboyant and so open and happy and like joyful and knew what they were doing, and Cam felt like the kind of like loser, the one that was often ignored and forgotten. So it's kind of this juxtaposition. So basically we are stuck between the decision of, if he wins this, he could go back to NYU, but does he want to go back to NYU? And that's kind of the main driving point. And then we also see Marco, who is the main rival for Cam in this elf competition. He's working as an elf in a mall. There's a competition to win $5,000. There's other elves, Marco included, and they're all rivaling it out for $5,000, which could change all of their lives in different ways, so everyone has a reason to fight their hardest. And it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. There's a lot of like recent pop culture references in this, which I did not expect. And like, I think I do not watch the spoiler part if you've not read this. Please go read this and come back, because I think to get the most out of this book, you need to not know what's coming. And you just need to like go with the flow. Like, it's so wild. But yeah, that's the synopsis. First of all, non-spoilery thoughts. This book is just a lot of fun, and there was a lot of cringy moments, but I just think they gave it such a charm and such a whimsy. It was like a typical YA love fiasco, and it was so enjoyable. I really enjoyed this one, even though there were points that I'm going to pull out that I think were bad, or some things that I think the author could have done a bit more editing on. And that's not like a really like high sensical thing. It's just kind of a thing of like some things that should have been changed, like the misgendering of certain characters, but I'll get onto that in a moment. But I just want to say initially, this was a really fun book. It perfectly gets you into the holiday mood. I mean, from the title you can tell what kind of book it's gonna be, but it is so fun. And yeah, I loved it so much, and it just puts a smile on my face. Like, even talking about it now, my smile is hurting, because I'm just like, I want to smile because this book was so funny. And there was so many, like, I have so many quotes that I'm going to pull out. Like, the majority of my spoiler thoughts on this book are going to be me pulling out quotes and like my reaction to them, because it was wild. There was so many random things in this book. It was absolutely crazy. I can't wait to talk about it. But yeah, what a brilliant time. I know my friends are judging me so hard for actually finishing this book, but I thought it was a lot of fun, and it's a perfect Christmas holiday read, so go read it. And I'm so happy I start with this one, because it's put like a smile on my face. But anyway, let's get to some spoilers. Like I said, it's going to mainly be me pulling up like quotes, and I'll try and put them on the screen as well, of like my notes. It was a lot of fun. So let's get straight into spoilers. So please click off now if you've not read this yet. Or if you just want to be spoiled, I guess you can stay. But please, if you want a holiday book, read this one. It's so cute, and it's so funny, and it's gay, and it's brilliant. It's good. It's good. It's good. It's not good at all. But yeah, go read this. I didn't really do that many non-spoilery thoughts because I just want to get into my spoilers. But yeah, my non-spoilery thoughts are I shouldn't have enjoyed this, but I did. So go read it. Okay, let's get to some spoilers now. Okay, so spoilers for this book. Let's start off with Cam as a character. So Cam is kind of a very stubborn character. Once he feels something, he stays with it. So the majority of this book, he feels like a failure. He feels like he doesn't belong at NYU. But he does have like people from NYU trying to contact him. There's specifically this character called Sarah. What was her second name? Sarah Zoo or something like that. And she's constantly trying to contact him, but he's kind of like, oh, she hates me. She's probably gloating on me. Like, why is she contacting me? So he's constantly pushing her away. So that's kind of a lingering thread. And eventually we find out that she was just trying to be like, hey, please don't drop out. Like, you're really good. You're just in the wrong major. Like, you just need to switch programs and you will fit right in. Like, you are really talented. We don't hate you. But that reveal is very, like, fun. But like for the most of the book, he's just kind of pushing her aside. He's not answering her calls. She tries to call, she calls his dad, but then he's like, Dad, I'm not interested. Don't tell me. So that was kind of the main point. So Cam is a very stubborn character. And I just really kind of liked it. I liked that it wasn't instant love, because this lent towards his relationship with Marco, who's obviously, they're going to end up together. It's rivals to lovers. But I genuinely did love that Cam had no idea about Marco's kind of interest in him for like the main majority of the book, until it's kind of finally revealed from Marco himself. I love that Cam was so oblivious, because I think oftentimes it's easy to kind of quickly have them like realize, oh, he's in love with me. I don't feel that way just yet, but I'm gonna learn to love him. Like, it's so often easy to go that route, but I really did like that he was just completely oblivious. He did not see Marco loving him, but everyone else did, and everyone's like, Marco's staring at you all the time. He's like, no, he's not. He's just rival. He just wants the money. So that was one thing I really liked. And now there was one thing about Cam that I didn't like, and it really ground my gears, and I want to get into it. So Cam has this weird obsession with like claiming he's poor, but throughout the book there's so many moments where that clashes. His ideology of being poor clashes with his actions. I think the first thing that straight away comes to my mind is his obsession with the shop Zara, which first off, did the author not do his research? Because like Zara is not a good thing to like be praising. Like, he praises Zara. It's like, it's the best shop ever. I'm like, do you not know about the labor that goes into Zara? Like, that's a whole big thing. Why are you like brown-nosing Zara? So Cam has this weird obsession with Zara, and he is, at one point he's in the shop and he sees a t-shirt with like a print on it and it's 50 quid. And Cam is like, oh my God, it's a steal. Like, oh my God, like with a print on, I have to get this. I'm going to buy this. It's only 50 quid. And like, that really clashed with me because in my mind, a steal for a t-shirt is £4.99. And then Cam's is like 50 quid. Like, I would never spend £50 on a t-shirt. And Cam's here like, oh, this is a steal. Like, this is just a good price. And I'm like, okay, so if that's a steal, how much are you spending on other clothes? How much are you spending on like a t-shirt if £50 is a deal to you? Like, that was so great. And then there's another thing where there's this kind of like, you know, like the stalls in malls where it's like these really expensive cookies, and they do like the big ones, they do like the big American ones. And yeah, he oftentimes goes to this thing and he acknowledges that it's really expensive, and then he buys like 15 cookies or $15 worth of cookies, which is like 2 cookies or like 1 cookie, and he's like, oh, I'm gonna eat this, oh, I'm gonna treat myself to this. And then he's like, how many times are you gonna do this? Like, I'm pretty sure if you were like tight on money, you wouldn't just be throwing money away at cookies and stuff. You would be doing, like, the whole reason he's going to the cookie stand is because the food stores are too far away, and if he went to the food store, he'd have to run back before his like break ended. Like, he doesn't have enough time in his break to like go all the way, sit, eat, and come back. But like, I'm thinking, if you're like really hard of money, wouldn't you just like rush over to get the food, get the cheap food, and then as you're coming back, eat it? That's what I would do. But no, he's like, you know what, instead of spending like a couple quid on some food and like eating it as I'm coming back, I'm gonna just cut the journey in half, go to a cookie stall, spend £15 on a cookie, eat the cookie. I'm like, that doesn't make sense. You're just spending more money because you're lazy. You're not poor, you're just lazy. So he's got all this disposable income to just spend on cookies and £50 t-shirts, and I'm like, okay, if you want to keep saying you're poor to everyone, but like, there's other characters, such as his dad, who seem way more obviously in a poorer position. So his dad, like, this feels kind of bad, kind of like, just like, be like, no, you're not poor. But it just really ground my gears throughout the entire book, because he kept talking about how poor he was, but everything he did was to the contrary. Whereas other characters were actually harder off, but he didn't see them as poor. So we have his dad, who is working 2 jobs in a warehouse and CVS. He's given up his only mode of transport, his car, so that Cam can drive it to his one job. And the dad is now walking to work, and he's like gone most of the day. We'll see that he's not, he goes early in the morning, he comes back late at night, and his dad is just treated like, oh yeah, that's what his dad should do to support me. Like, oh, I do feel a little bit bad, but like, he should be doing that. And I'm like, but yeah, it really kind of annoyed me that Cam kept like claiming he was poor, but then spending like 100 quid at a cookie stall. And I'm like, no, it doesn't work. It doesn't work, Valdes. It doesn't work. And then also he talks about how he loves to take like really long hot showers. But like, again, if you're like tight on money, why are you wasting the hot water? Like, it doesn't make sense. So we have him taking hour-long hot showers, spending 15 quid on 1 cookie multiple times throughout the book, and there's a point where he treats everyone to a cookie, so he's probably spending like 100 quid to get a cookie for each person, because there's, I think, 5 competitors that he works with, and he buys them all a cookie, and all the cookies are worth 15, so 5 times 15, what's 5 times 15? I'm not good at maths, I got a B in maths. 5 times 5 is 25. 5 plus 10 is 50. 50 plus 25. So he spends at least £75 on these cookies for his co-workers. Where is this money coming from? Anyway, I'm going to stop griping out. I've been going on for a while. But yeah, he's got the cookies, he's got the long hot showers, and he's finding £50 t-shirts as a steal in Zara. And I'm like, dude, stop saying you're poor if you're just going to waste your money like this. Like, it really frustrated me. Anyway, let's move on from that situation. But yeah, anyway, that's Cam. Marco, I really liked. Marco is kind of also really hard off. He's got a single parent. His dad recently died, so it's just him and his mum. And his mum was recently diagnosed with diabetes, and she doesn't have like the proper insurance or something, because she'd recently been she was a stay-at-home mum, and then the dad died, and then she had to like go and get work, so now she's a cleaner, and it's not very like a consistent kind of job for her, because obviously people don't always need a cleaner. People can say, actually, we don't need you to stay, and stuff like that. So easy, it's not like a fixed thing. So she's really struggling. She doesn't have the kind of like income to have like insurance, medical insurance, all this kind of insulin and stuff is really expensive. And it's like, this is someone that needs the money, not someone that's going to spend £50 on a t-shirt. But yeah, it was really sad learning about Marco's family when he finally started to open up to Cam, and their relation started to bloom. And I was rooting for Marco to win the competition more, because Cam was just going to use it to go to school, whereas Marco kind of needed it for like to help his mum out with like the cost of medicine and like living. But yeah. Anyway, let's get into the actual plot. So the actual plot starts off where he gets this job, and his ex-boyfriend, who he had dumped when he went to New York, because he was like, oh, well, New York, Cam is going to get a better boyfriend, and he can't really do long distance. So he dumps this boy called Leroy, poor Leroy, and Leroy is a helper at this Santa land. A helper is kind of like, there's elves and there's helpers. The elves are like obviously the characters, and the helpers are the people that are kind of doing the jobs alongside, but not the elves. It's weird. And the elves don't have to wear the ears, but the helpers do, which I thought was like a weird way. I thought it would be the other way around. But Leroy's working there, so the first half of this book is kind of Cam trying to get back with Leroy, but then kind of not feeling it, because Leroy never puts any effort into the relationship. It's always Cam that has to initiate things. Cam has to ask, hey, do you want to kiss? Hey, do you want to go here? Hey, should we go on a date? Hey, do you want to be boyfriends? It's always Cam prompting things, and Leroy never really seems that interested, and that's one of the reasons why they broke up. And it's still happening now that they're trying to get back together, because Leroy is like, hey, let's be boyfriends again. Well, he doesn't say that, but he's kind of acting like, hey, we were really close again. And then yeah, it's implied that Leroy kind of assumes that they're boyfriends straight away because he's back. And it's like this whole thing. But then there's constantly like times where you're like, no, Leroy, you don't. Like Cam has this kind of tradition with his friend, who I can't actually remember the name of. Was her name Alex or something? Sorry, I had to go back and see the friend's name, because I completely forgot the friend's name. But he has a friend called Jazz. So Cam has a friend called Jazz. And I completely forgot what I was going to say. Oh yeah, Cam and Jazz have this tradition every year where they celebrate the Wright brothers' first flight. Because it was like a school project they did, and it was like a really core memory for them. So they always like wear a mustache or a bowler hat, and they go out in public, and they're just like, yep, this is what we're doing, this is our tradition. And they just go around to these kind of different places, and they try and up like the weirdness of the location. So at one point they go to like a wedding, like a pre-wedding thing, dressed as these Wright brothers, and it's really cute. And we get an instance where so Jazz brings her Norwegian girlfriend into this, and she's like, she wants to wear a mustache as well and be part of it. So Cam's like, well, I'm gonna bring Leroy in, and Leroy can wear a hat. But then Leroy's like, you know, I don't like dress up, I'm not wearing the hat. And then it's like this really awkward thing where Cam has a hat on, Leroy doesn't. Jazz and her girlfriend have the mustaches on, and it's like, Leroy, why are you being such a buzzkill? Could you not just do this one thing? I mean, it makes sense at the end for the big reveal. But yeah, it was just kind of like, I hate you, Leroy. And Leroy is just not likable throughout the entire book. But like, you can understand why Cam is trying to figure this out on his own, because he's not quite sure about this. It's been a while since they've been together properly. And then halfway through, when we eventually ditch Leroy, we get with Marco, and we get all the cute stuff with Marco. So this is what I wanted to talk about quickly earlier. So in the elf competition, we have 5 main competitors. We have Marco, we have Cam, we have Miranda, we have Leroy, and we have a non-binary character called Raven. Now, I only caught this once, but Valdes, for some reason, maybe they didn't edit it properly, but they misgender Raven in the book, and it really took me out when I read it. It was like, so Raven is obviously they, them, non-binary pronouns, they use they, them. But then Valdes refers to them as she. Or like, no, it's like Raven doesn't raise her hand, and it's like, I immediately saw it. I was like, her hand, like, shouldn't it not be their hand? Like, I was so confused, and I was sat at the train station, and I was literally like, her hand, what? And I thought maybe, oh, maybe he's talking about Miranda, or he's talking about one of the other characters. And I was like, no, it says Raven doesn't raise her hand. And I'm like, excuse me. I was like really shocked. I was like, how is that something that got past like multiple rounds of edits and copy editing? It got past like so many different people within the publishing kind of system, like copy editors and his editing himself. Like, how did no one catch that? I caught it as soon as I read it. I don't know how that got past, but like it felt so disrespectful to Raven to like just misgender them in the middle of the book. And it's like, how did this get past the edit? But yeah. That's something I really want to pull up, because I think if you're going to have non-binary characters, they should be fully written properly. They should be represented properly. They shouldn't be like misgendered by the person that wrote them. Like, I don't know. I don't think it was a malicious thing. I think it was just simply an error. I think, like, I have a slight suspicion that maybe Raven was supposed to be just like a female character, and then Valdes went, no, actually I should add a non-binary character, and then went back and changed the pronouns for them. But yeah, I think that's kind of like my more pessimistic view of this situation, is that originally Raven wasn't supposed to be non-binary, but then Valdes changed it to add a bit more inclusivity into the book. But I think if you're going to do that, you should make sure that you're changing everything and making it proper and making it true to the character, and not just doing it for a bit more representation, you know? And I think if that was the case, you wouldn't have accidentally misgendered her. I don't know. That's my more pessimistic view. My more optimistic view is it just a simple typing error. Maybe it was originally Miranda, or who was the other lady? Fiona, that didn't raise their hand or something, and you just switched the character. That's my more optimistic view. But yeah, I just wanted to get that out there. I thought that was kind of, I don't know, that really took me out of the book at the point. Anyway. So the L competition, there's these 5 characters. There's, obviously, I've just mentioned them, Cam, Marco, Raven, Miranda, and Leroy. Leroy's an old man. He's really sweet. Miranda is the sister to Raven, and we don't find this out until later on. It's kind of this juxtaposition, because Raven is like a really goth character, and they're like all like in black, and they're all the gothic. And every challenge we have, like there's one where we have to wrap a specific item, and Raven puts a choker ribbon around one of the reindeers, and they just drag it out and go, you're the present now, or something like that. And it's just like the most random thing. But yeah, they're like really goth code of goth character. So Raven and Miranda are sisters, and yeah, that's them. I was like thinking, I thought I missed someone then, but no, that's the 3 other people. So yeah, basically we have these different rounds. One of them was like wrapping an item. One of them was like, the final one was singing. One of them was photo op, which is very interesting. I'm going off on a tangent here. So the L competition consists of these different trials to kind of get votes from the audience, and each time the audience gets bigger and bigger. And yeah, we have to kind of weed out people. Later on, there's elimination challenges. Leroy and Miranda are the first to be eliminated. Raven is eliminated next, and then it's between Marco and Cam. And there's a whole thing at the end. Anyway, I'm just going to take a break from discussing things, because I want to pull out some quotes, because I feel like I've been rambling for a while. I've been rambling for 25 minutes. Okay, let's get some of these quotes out of the way. I have my iPad here. Okay, so the first thing that I found really funny was one of these most pop culture one of the first pop culture references that I just wasn't like anticipating coming up. But the quote goes as follows: "He only sung the first line, put another Yule log on the fire, baby, when I bolt for the stage and swagger up to the mic, grabbing it out of his hands. I'ma let you finish, I say, but I have one of the best versions of this song of all time." Now, if you know the reference, that is the reference to Kanye West interrupting Taylor Swift on stage, and it was like this whole drama.
Now, Taylor, I'm really happy for you. I'm gonna let you finish, but Beyonce had one of the best videos of all time. One of the best videos of all time.
It's like this really disrespectful thing that Kanye did, and I wasn't expecting this in the book, and it felt so random. So the context is Cam and Marco are they're on the final stage of the competition, and they've got to sing this song that Fiona, one of the boss people, has written, and it's like this really sexual song, which really didn't fit, and like it was part of the joke was it didn't fit, but like they're working in like a children's area, all these children come to see Santa, and then Fiona's written this like really sexual song of like, I just wanna put my Yule log in your baby and stuff like that. It's really weird. But yeah, so they have to have a sing-off to decide who wins the elf, but then they both kind of want each other to win. They don't want to like beat the other person because they're like, no, you used to have the money, I had the money. They're dating at this point. So they both decide to kind of sing it together, and this is how it initiates. So that's the context of it, and it's just, I was not expecting that. So I sent a picture of that to my friend Alice, who is obsessed with Taylor Swift. So bear in mind, obviously you won't know, but Alice goes around and helps kind of, I don't know what the name of it, like almost like a midwife, but kind of like dealing with older people. And I'm sorry, Alice, I can't remember the name of your job. But Alice replied, I just wiped an old lady's arse, but this is the worst thing I've seen all day. That made me laugh. And I was sat in the station at a train station, and I literally was like, ha ha, like laughing. And the guy next to me was just kind of like, and I was like, I'm so embarrassed. Please don't look at me. But I was laughing at the quote, and then stopped. And then I saw Alice's message, and I was laughing at Alice's message. I looked crazy. So that was the first quote and the first kind of pop culture reference that I was just not expecting at this book. So we have a line that says, so this is still on kind of like the singing competition. He goes, naturally, I sashay and shanty like I'm on RuPaul's Drag Race. And Alice said to this made me feel violently sick. And then I texted it also to my friend Kia, and she was like, mother of God, this guy got published. Yep, I'm not going to overthink my first draft. Funny, I love my friends' reactions to all this. I'm being very judged for reading this book. So the next quote is where Cam and Leroy are kind of threatening to not show up and finish the competition, because Cam and his family have this tradition of a cookie party where they bake lots of cookies, again going against kind of the poor thing. You can afford to make like hundreds of cookies just at home, just like chilling. Cost of living crisis, anyone. But yeah, they have this thing called a cookie party, which kind of overshadows Christmas for them anyway. Like it's really important to them, and it gets called off nearly because Cam can't really make it because he obviously has to work every single day and he can't get home in time. And his dad finds out, it's this big kerfuffle, but then it comes back on, and his dad messages Victor, and Victor is like, no, hell no, you're not having the time off. And they're like, well, I will just not come into work then, and the competition will be over. And Victor's like, well, I'll just replace you with Raven. They can like be against Marco as the final two. And so yeah, then he says, don't mess with the millennial. And I'm just like, have you seen the millennials? I don't think we need to be scared of millennials, okay? And then there was a reference to like a childhood show that I watched. Oh god, this lighting is not very good. Then there was a reference to a show called Shake It Up, which is, if you don't know, Zendaya's one of Zendaya's first shows in it. It also has, she's an influencer now, but I can't remember her name, the redhead that plays Cece. Bellathorn, I think that's her name. But there was a reference to Shake It Up in this book, and I just wasn't expecting it, and I feel old because like they're like, oh, back when we were really young at 9, we would like, and I was like, I feel so old because like Shake It Up feels like yesterday. I loved Shake It Up. Basically, it was like a Disney show where they were two professional dancers on this show, and like different things happened, different dancers and drama and stuff. It was really good. It had Zendaya in it. Love Zendaya. That's where I know Zendaya from. I miss Disney Channel so much. My favourite one was Wizards of Waverly Place, and Sweet Life of Zack and Cody. But I really like Shake It Up and Good Luck Charlie. Anyway, I'm getting to a ramble, and no one's gonna get that unless you Gen Z. But yeah, they reference Shake It Up, and then some more interesting quotes are, again, this is Victor again, who's angry that Cam's dad invited him to the cookie party, and he's like, what the hell, you're gonna have time off? Like, what, you thought you could just have time off work? Like the most American thing ever. And he goes, and then Cam goes like this. So Victor's like bad mouthing his dad. He's like, oh yeah, your dad is so naive, blah blah blah. And Cam goes, I have a Will Smith moment. Get my dad's name out of your mouth, buddy. But I don't go and pop him in the face. And I'm like, what the hell? I was like, what the hell? hell is this? Wait, Will Smith's Oscar punch is now being referenced in books? Like, what timeline am I in? Like, it just really took me out of the book. Both that and the Taylor Swift one, I was just like, what the hell is this writing? Like, like... The next one is Leroy and Cam arguing about their relationship, and it goes, we're not even pretending to move the line along, and parents are grumbling, maybe about waiting, maybe about being forced to witness elfing divorce court, like elfin divorce court, and that phrase, elfin divorce court, it just felt a bit random and a bit weird. I was like, okay. And then we have Fiona does a demo of her song. This was like a line that I found really funny. It's not like weird, it was funny. So Fiona does a demo of the song that she wrote for them to sing for this final competition. And it goes, when I come down off the stage, I return the favour. You should be a music teacher. You're good at it, is what Cam says to her. A shadow crosses her face. I was for 25 years until they cut my program and expanded football. But thanks. And I just found it so funny. The next one is Cam when he's arguing with his dad over the bad communication between the two. And he goes, I should turn around or he should follow me. Make me face him. One of us should say something, but we don't. Hashtag son fail. Hashtag dad fail. Fail. Oh, so funny. Hashtag son fail. Okay, I've been talking about this book for way too long. I'm sorry, I'm gonna quick up. So ultimately, there's like an online hate campaign against Cam's character who's called Oopsie. That's what his elf is called at part of the competition. And his whole shtick is being like really like clumsy and stuff like that. It's not always intentional, but he kind of leans into it at times, and then it just happens at times. And everyone's like Oopsie, and it's what makes him really popular. And it shows that he has a talent not for acting, but comedic acting and the musical theatre stuff. And that's his strong point. And the reason he's failing at school is because he went into a more serious acting program and he didn't kind of go with what he was good at. And that's what ultimately Sarah Zhu says to him, is like, you should switch programs and do musical theatre because you'll actually thrive there, rather than trying to force yourself to do a kind of acting that you don't enjoy and that you aren't really good at. Ultimately, there's like a hate campaign against Oopsie, and it's by Xmas Lover, which ends up being Leroy, and we find out that Leroy was doing a hate campaign against Oopsie this entire time, and it was kind of obvious. I'm not gonna like that. Like we all saw that coming, okay? We knew it was gonna be Leroy, and it's just like it was like brushed off, and he's like, oh, it can't be Leroy, it can't be Fiona, it won't be Victor, it could be this person. I'm like, what do you mean it can't be Leroy? Like, you've just had like a big argument with Leroy and he doesn't like you. But to be fair, it was kind of malicious because it started whilst he was trying to rekindle the thing with Leroy. So Leroy is obviously leading him on during that whole section. So I guess that bit was malicious, but ultimately they kind of just get over it and they just forgive each other. Like, we're just being idiots. Like, I forgive you or whatever. But yeah, I think, this is my last one. So I'll do one last one. So there's this weird recurrence of Cam suggesting he set his... Oh, yeah, I remember what this is. So Marco's mum, obviously being lonely with the dad dying, she's all by herself, and Cam is just raised by a single dad, which I thought was really sweet, kind of inclusion of like a way for that family unit, because basically Cam is not a child of divorce, he's not a child of like a single parent with one dying. No, his dad just never really got into a relationship. He could never really find his one, but he still wanted to like fulfill his dream of having a child and raising a child. So he just went through kind of just like the surrogacy route of getting Cam and just being a single parent and just raising the son that he wanted, which I thought was really cute, like family dynamic to include in this book. And I don't think I've seen that before, where it's like it's a like the dad or the mum or whatever has chosen to just, yeah, I'm single, but I still want a child, so I'm going to get a surrogate child. I thought that was really cool. I thought that was really cool. But anyway, but there's this weird occurrence of Cam keeps suggesting that, oh, well, I think my dad should get with Marco's mum. And I'm like, but, like, if your dad gets with your boyfriend's mum, that'll make you and your boyfriend stepbrothers. Or, like, half-brothers. Do you want your boyfriend to be your stepbro? Like... really weird. It happened at least 3 times. He mentioned this, like getting his dad and Marco's mum together, and it was just made me like physically revolt. Like I was like, ugh. So one of the quotes was, Marco's mum, like old that was just part of the previous thing. Marco's mum, like old friends, she's having a good time as far as I can tell, but I wish I'd arranged for her to meet Dad here. So they're at the final competition and he sees Marco's mum in the crowd. I make a promise to myself that I will set them up. You never know. After a little your elf likes my elf bonding, maybe they'll get some get some ideas of their own. I'm like, what the hell? Why are you trying to become stepbros with your boyfriend? But yeah, that was another thing that kept recurring, and I was like, this seems really gross and really weird. Please stop. Ultimately, the dad and the mum don't get together. His dad gets with his theatre teacher, who's called Miss Crop, and she's always like really supportive of Cam, and she even offers him like a teacher aide position with her if he doesn't end up going back to university. But yeah, that was this book. The book ends. Marco wins the competition, but then Leroy kind of forces Victor's hand and gets Cam kind of $5,000 as well. Okay, just popping in to clear this up. I've just realised I've been calling both the older elf competitor that Cam works with and Cam's ex-boyfriend Leroy. I can't remember the actual name. One of them's Leroy. I'm sorry about that. I'm too lazy to fix the rest of the video, but I was just talking about the older competitor there, and in a minute I'm going to be talking about the ex-boyfriend, but from context clues I'm sure you can pick things up, so I'm not going to fix the rest of the video. Sorry about that. They both ultimately end up winning and getting $5,000, and yeah, he goes back to college and they try long distance this time, and it's kind of like a full circle moment because obviously he dumped Leroy because he thought New York City Cam wouldn't handle a relationship, whereas this time he's like, no, I trust myself, I think we can do it, let's do it. So he's going back to college to do his thing. Marco can now afford to help his mum and hopefully go to school in the future when he has more money. But yeah, that's where the book leads off. They're together, they're happy, they're living life. The dad has now got a wife. And yeah, the 12 days of Elfmas are over. And yeah, I've been rambling about this book for 40 minutes. This video is going to be at over an hour at this point. I've still got 2 more books to talk about at least. Okay, so that was Finding My Elf. I should probably stop talking about this one book, but I just had so much fun, and I think that's going to reflect in this video. I really hope you enjoyed hearing me talk about this one. Let's get on to the next book of this video. I don't know if it's going to shine up to the light of this one, but we will see. Thanks for watching this section at least. If you're going to leave me here, then let's talk about this one in the comments below, but please keep watching if you want to. Anyway, on to the next book of the gay Christmas rom-com reading video. Let's go. I'm back, and I just thought I'd quickly show you my Christmas tree. Also, I'm holding the camera for this one, so sorry for any shaking. But here's my Christmas tree. This is the one in my bedroom. I have put the same ornaments on it every year. I've had some of these ornaments since I was a child. I have no idea where they came from. But the only thing I know is that was my great-grandma's angel at the top, and my mum always comes in and looks at it and is like, oh, you still have it? I'm like, yep. But this year's edition was the stars because we were going to get rid of them from the tree downstairs, but then I was like, no, I want them from my tree. So yeah, it's a beautiful mess. It looks better in the dark, but we're not here to talk about that. Also, ignore my hair. I've just washed it and then dried it, and it went all straight and it looked terrible, and I can see it in the camera. But that's not what this video is about. This video is about my lovely face, but also Christmas gay rom-coms, because that's what we're here to talk about. So the next one that I just finished is Look Up Handsome by Jack Strange. Now, before we get into the spoilers, I'm going to give you a synopsis and some non-spoilery thoughts, just like the previous book. So yeah. So Look Up Handsome follows our main character called Quinn Oxford, which I know is a weird name. I think it's just because it's like 2 kind of not really popular names, like Quinn and Oxford. They're very like unique names, and put together they're a bit strange. Jack Strange. But no, we follow Quinn Oxford, who runs a queer bookshop in Hay on Twine, which is the Welsh town of books. It's very popular for its book festivals and its multitude of bookstores. It is the town of literature, and has a history steeped in literature as well, which you do see a little bit in this book as well, which is really cool. But this follows Quinn Oxford and his bookstore, which is now threatened with closure as his stepfather, Harold, is renovating the local castle, and he owns Quinn's shop, and he is evicting Quinn because he wants this shop, which was once a converted church, so that was part of the castle. He wants it back to be a ticket office for the castle, and he is heartless and he is evicting Quinn, and the whole book follows Quinn's kind of struggle with dealing with the potential loss of everything he has. This is his income, that he lives above the shop, like this is home. He is going to lose everything, and he is dealing with that. And along the way, we have some subplots, the rom-com aspect of this, which follows Noah Sage, who is the love interest for Quinn, and he is a famous author who Quinn really admires, and he's in town doing a bit of research for his book. And yeah, things get messy, as they do in all rom-coms. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. There's some kind of Evelyn Hugo inspired subplots in here. Yeah, it's a very interesting book. So let's get into some non-spoilery thoughts. What can I say? I really enjoyed my time with this book. It was very atmospheric within the winter and Christmas kind of atmosphere. Like, it just really kind of made me feel Christmassy, which is the whole aim of this video. So that was great. I don't think it made me feel as Christmassy as Finding My Elf, the previous book in this video, but it was still there, and it had a strong presence of kind of like being snowed in. There was some Christmas festivals. Miriam Margolyes made like an appearance in this book, which I just found so random. Like, there was like a part where the town was turning on its Christmas lights, and Miriam Margolyes just shows up for like a paragraph. I was going to say page, but not even that, a paragraph. And Miriam Margolyes turns on the lights, and I'm like, what are you doing here? Like, Miriam, are you okay? And it just made me think of like how strange it must be to like be like a celebrity like Miriam Margolyes and just be like referenced or like appear in like books like this and not even know. Like, I bet Miriam Margolyes does not know that she is in this book. And like, I just like to imagine her like in Waterstones walking past it and having no idea that she's in it. That is just, I don't know, that's something funny to think about. But also another thought, I really liked a lot of the characters in this one. There was some that I had kind of strong opinions on, but I won't touch on that until the spoiler section. But I really liked the side characters particularly. They weren't kind of like the most developed side characters, but they were just characters for themselves. There was one called Bloody Blair. I can't say it. It's a tongue twister. Bloody Blair Beckett, who I found very interesting. There were some drag queens towards the end of the books as well, which was one was called Ebenezer. I can't speak today about names for some reason. I just can't say names. But there was a drag queen towards the end called Ebenezer Screwed, which I really liked. I really liked Quinn. I thought he was a very interesting character. I liked kind of seeing what this bookshop meant to him, what this town meant to him, the struggles that he went through. We have a kind of a side plot with the love interest mum, Hermione Sage, which is very Evelyn Hugo inspired. She is kind of a disgraced Hollywood star, and we kind of dig more into that and like what really happened. Not to the extent that I would have wished for. I feel like that could have been developed a bit more, but it was interesting. It was an addition to the book, and I liked it. I really like the setting of the little town. I like the sense of community we got between all the different people in Hay, and how they all supported each other, and how they didn't quite support each other. And yeah, I think the strongest things about this book are the atmosphere and the side characters, and the main characters are quite strong as well, but particularly the side characters. I don't think I've had a book for a while that I've thoroughly enjoyed side characters so much. I always struggle with non-spoilery thoughts because I never know what I can say. Like, I know spoilers are different for everyone. Like, some people just take everything as a spoiler, some people don't. So yeah, I don't know what else I can say. The atmosphere was great. The characters were great. I think the writing, it incorporated kind of some more references to pop culture, but I think it did it in a much kind of more succinct and subtle way compared to Finding My Elf, which was very blatant. And I think that was kind of due to it being kind of more recent pop culture references, like the Will Smith slap and stuff like that. But I don't know. It felt more kind of subtle in this one. Like, I'll read some quotes later on in the spoilery section, but it was more subtle and less kind of in your face than it was in Finding My Elf. I think overall I gave this book 4 stars. I really enjoyed my time reading it, and although I have some strong opinions that I'll get into in the spoiler section, I did ultimately enjoy my time reading this one. It was very fun. I wouldn't take it back. I don't regret reading it. I enjoyed it. I would definitely recommend it. It's perfect for the Christmas vibe. So yeah, let's get into some spoilers now because I'm dying to rave. So I think I'm going to build up to my strong opinions about Mr. Noah Sage and that whole situation. And I'm going to start with his mother, Hermione Sage, because that's kind of like its own subplot. And I feel like I can talk about that first. I really enjoyed the whole section about Hermione Sage. However, I do feel like it could have been built up a bit more. It felt very kind of surface level at times. But I really liked how she was a victim of this kind of scandal of her sex tape leaking. And it was really sad, and I liked the moment where she kind of described what happened and how it made her feel. And I think Strange does a good job of kind of showing the after effects of this trauma for Hermione. She's constantly kind of kept cooped up in her house. She doesn't open any of the blinds because she's constantly stressed about paparazzi. And yeah, it's really tragic. And there's kind of some similarities with Princess Diana. It is blatantly referenced as her looking like Diana at one point with the revenge dress, when ultimately she shows up at Quinn's shop at the end and it's this big reveal and she's done it for Quinn, and she's like, it's finally time for me to kind of get past this trauma and live my life for me and not let other people's kind of horrible things that they've done to me like control how I live. So yeah, she's a very kind of strong connection to Princess Diana, and with the blonde hair specifically as well, because I was thinking of Hermione from Riverdale, like the actress, of the Hermione character. And then it's described as her having blonde hair, and I was like, okay, maybe I should rethink this character. But yeah, but like that, just like kind of that rich woman kind of vibe of Hermione from Riverdale was what I was getting. But no, it was very much, anyway, I'm going off on tangents. But yeah, I really liked the Hermione's thing, but I do think it's very surface level, and I think it did have very strong kind of feelings of Evelyn Hugo, so I feel like we could have had a bit more kind of similar development as in that, because ultimately Quinn was going to write her memoirs, but I feel like we never actually got any kind of writing done. We never saw Quinn sit down with Hermione and go, okay, tell me a story, or like see Hermione explain anything to Quinn. It was kind of all very kind of in the back burner. Quinn just did it off the page, and we never really saw him writing or like listening to Hermione's stories, other than when they were just doing it off the record at that Christmas party, and she explains what this man who ended up being Noah's father did to her. That's the only time we actually see Hermione tell a story from her life to Quinn, and it's not even on the record for the book. So I just feel like it felt kind of underdeveloped. I like at the end when Quinn does write the book, it kind of felt kind of like, what did you like? We didn't really see anything between you two kind of discussing anything. Like I know the main plot of the book was about the bookshop and Noah falling in love with Noah, whatever, but I do think we could have had maybe like 1 or 2 chapters that were just dedicated to Hermione and Quinn talking about Hermione's life. Okay, then I want to talk about, okay, let's just get on to Noah Sage, because that's just all that's in my head, is Mr. Noah Sage, who is the author that Quinn is obsessed with. Now, straight away, I was kind of off put by the kind of different dynamic between the two. I didn't like the kind of power difference of like Noah being a big famous author and Quinn being really like fanatic about him at the start, where he's like at the 10 and all he can think about is what Noah's going to think of him. He feels like everyone is going to judge him, and it didn't do anything for me at the start. I kind of felt uncomfortable with kind of the power dynamic there, the power difference there, I should say, with Quinn being a fan and Noah being an idol. It did get broken down as Noah coincidentally ended up in Quinn's shop, and they coincidentally kept running into each other, and we got kind of a more kind of personal version of Noah rather than his like his celebrity self. Anyway, I'm rambling, but yeah, straight away I wasn't a big fan of the pairing, but then it did build on me a little bit. I did find them quite cutesy, but then as soon as we were at that Christmas dinner and we meet, I think it was a little bit before that, but as soon as we meet Matty, Noah's boyfriend, I felt immediately uncomfortable again, because it felt so much like cheating. Like, I know Noah and Quinn hadn't actually kissed at that point. They hadn't done anything. They hadn't slept together. They hadn't kissed. I don't even think they touched hands that often. But just the amount of flirting they did, it feels so icky. It felt, because it was intentional, because Noah was going out of his way to like hang out with Quinn and kind of flirt with Quinn and play with Quinn's feelings whilst he has a boyfriend, and I didn't like it. And Jack Strange does kind of justify the cheating aspects of it towards the end by kind of retroactively making Matty out to be like the worst person ever. Like, Matty is very arrogant when we first meet him. He kind of plays up what he's done. He's like, oh yeah, I ran a bakery and that's where me and Noah thing. I would do a bit of acting. And basically we learned that he was in a few commercials and his bakery shut down after a year because he didn't really know how to run it. And like, fair enough, he was arrogant and he wasn't very like polite. But like, who's not going to big themselves up? You're not immediately going to meet someone new and go, hey, I'm a failed entrepreneur and I can't act for shit. Like, nobody wants me. Like, you're not going to do that. Especially when you're with someone that you suspect your boyfriend of cheating on you with. Or like, because Matty was suspicious of Quinn and Noah because they were weirdly close. And he's like, why are you really close to my boyfriend all of a sudden? Like, you two have known each other a couple of days. Why are you this close? So I don't really blame Matty for like bigging himself up and that. But then at the end, they kind of been like, well, Matty was always horrible and I've never really had feelings for him at all. It kind of died. He's very arrogant. He comes from nepotism and his parents give him all his money but then cut him off and made him get an actual job, but he didn't want to do a job, so he just got with Noah because he saw Noah as a blank check. And I was like, that's all easy to say in retrospect. But like, that's not how it was written straight away. You're just saying that in this 4-month post time skip because you want to justify Quinn and Noah being together now. I just think it was a very stupid thing to have Noah with a boyfriend in the first place. That shouldn't have been a thing. Matty should not have been a character in here. You should have just had the whole Noah being a recluse and not really liking Hay thing. That should have been his main thing, not him having a boyfriend. And then I really didn't like Noah. As soon as like, because I was already not liking the dynamic, but I liked Noah, but then I found out that Noah had a boyfriend and he was flirting with Quinn all this time and getting really into Quinn's life, and then we found out that he's boyfriend and Quinn is like really taken aback, and I'm like, I really don't like this guy. And you know what else made me not like Noah that much? He was never there for Quinn throughout this entire book. He kept running away, and I know Noah had this whole thing of not feeling at home in Hay because of how people treat his mum, and he kind of hated his mum himself when he found out what happened, and he blames himself for like being really mean to his mum now. And I understand that Hay isn't a nice place for him, but he constantly abandons Quinn in his moment of need. And these little petty little things that he does of like, oh, I giving him £100 in the donation, that doesn't make up for never being there for Quinn. Like, Quinn sets up like a whole book signing for Noah, and it's supposed to be kind of this joint thing with Bloody Bear Blackett. They're both going to do book signings, which is going to bring attention to the bookshop. Blair does his part and Noah's there and he kind of takes some of the spotlight, but that's not really his fault because people just know, oh, a famous author. But yeah, then when it comes to being Noah's turn, he fucking leaves to London, and I'm like, dude, what the fuck? You just left because you felt a bit anxious and Quinn was telling you, hey, you have a boyfriend, we can't do anything. Like, I don't like you, Mr. Noah Said. I don't like you. And he goes off to London and the only thing he can say for himself is sorry over email. And then Quinn has to do the entire process of the protest, fighting for his livelihood and his home and everything he has. He does it without Noah because Noah is a little crybaby and he's gone off to London, back to Matty. Like, he goes back to Matty after breaking up with Matty to be with Quinn, and Quinn goes, actually, no, that's not really something we should do. He goes back to Matty. Fuck you, Noah. Fuck you. I really hated Noah in this book. He was so annoying and he was just never there, and it just really annoyed me. And every time he like kept, it felt like he kept going back to London. It felt like he was here and then he was gone, then he was here and then he was gone. It's really freaking annoying me. Really annoying me. I don't really, but like I said, I did like this book. I did like this book, and I know I have been like raging at Noah for the past like 5 minutes. But I did like this book. I just don't like Noah. I don't like Noah, which actually didn't affect the book too much, because I feel like the book, for a rom-com, it did focus on the drama of the bookshop closure a lot more than the romance aspect between Noah and Quinn, which was actually kind of nice because obviously I didn't like Noah. And I was really invested in the bookshop. Like, I really couldn't guess where it was going. Like, I had a feeling that he would keep the bookshop, But then at the end, he doesn't. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's kind of a surprise. And then he does get it back because his, was it his step cousin? Because it's like the nephew of Harold, his stepdad. I think it's the step cousin Gordon, who's like the straightest man ever. He was a very interesting character. Like, I kind of just forgot about him, but he works for Harold and he's kind of a partner within the castle renovation, but Harold is very controlling and not really nice to Gordon. So Gordon and the other workers on the castle kind of have a mutiny against Harold and start leaving his company. And then at the end, Gordon buys the shop. He like brings it up to his new kind of the people that he's working with, and he's like, hey, this would be a really good investment. So he buys the shop and then he gives the key back to Noah. Back to Quinn, and Quinn sets up the shop again, and it was very cute and it was a full moment. And I thought that was a really good message of like, even though these kind of like people in your life may not feel like family because they're associated with someone that you don't necessarily like, they can still be there for you. Okay, for some reason it wouldn't let me invert the footage, so the last part of this book is going to be mirrored. Sorry about that. But yeah, I think that's the strangest thing, is this book for rom-com didn't really have too much of like a close spotlight on the rom-com aspect. Like, you could read this one and just skip all the Noah stuff if you wanted and just read a story about fighting for his bookshop, and you could skip the Noah scenes. And yeah, there would be some kind of like Quinn thinking about Noah in those parts, but for the most part it would still be enjoyable. But yeah, I didn't really like Noah. He was never there. He was an asshole. He kind of, I know it wasn't cheating, they didn't actually do anything, but I'm pretty sure if your boyfriend was flirting with another man, you would think it was cheating and you would be uncomfortable. So poor old Matty, like, I know he's like justified to be an asshole later on, but like he wasn't until Jack Strange wanted him to be, you know. Fucking Noah. If we like detach the Noah part of this book, I did enjoy it. But yeah, what was I getting on to say? I also really liked the aspect of like not knowing if he was going to keep the bookshop, because you go into it like, oh yeah, he's going to end up keeping his bookshop. Yeah, it's fine. But then things get more and more dire, and Harold, his stepfather who owns the thing and is trying to evict him, doesn't really change his stance at all. Like, I thought there would be a moment where Harold goes, you know what, we're family, I shouldn't be doing this, here's the key, you can keep the shop. I actually really thought there was going to be a part like that, because it felt like that's kind of the traditional thing to do in this kind of storyline. But he doesn't do that, and Harold is just constantly like, no, I'm not letting you keep your shop. I want the money. Like, I'm going to get like $500,000 at least for this church now. He was really steadfast in that, and yeah, it kind of put the pressure on, because it was like, is he going to keep the bookshop? Is he not? Like, I don't know. And he ultimately, they don't keep the book. They do the protest, which Noah isn't there for. He's off in London sulking with his ex-boyfriend. So Quinn's all alone. They do the protest, which is where the drag queens are, which are really cool. There's Ebenezer Scrooge. Oh, the other one's called, I can't remember what the other two drag queens were called, but Ebenezer Scrooge is my favourite one. They do the protest. It's sort of this big moment. They're celebrating in the pub, and then Harold comes in, and everyone's booing him, and he's like, "Give me the key, give me the key, Quinn. You're evicted." And he gets the key, and that's that. And then 2 months later, the shop's not his, and it was like, whoa, did we lose? Like, we don't have the shop anymore. Where's Quinn gonna go? Because because there was the kind of probability that Quinn would go to London, because he had a pending job offer in London. Everyone thought he was going to go to London. That's what Harold was like, hey, I'm taking your bookshop away and your livelihood away, but you do have a job in London. Why don't you just go there? And I never really wanted that to be a possibility, because I don't like London myself. So I was like, I don't want Quinn to have to go to London. The poor soul. Please save him. Don't make him have to go to London. But yeah, that was always a possibility as well, but I'm glad that wasn't how it ended up. And basically what ends up happening is his step cousin Gordon, who has never really been in Quinn's life, like they've never really been that close, because obviously Harold's been an asshole to Quinn, so Quinn's never seen a reason to get close to Gordon. But throughout the book they kind of have some moments together, and ultimately Gordon realizes, and a bunch of the other workers for Harold realize how shitty Harold is and how just bossy and rude he is, and they have a little mutiny. And Gordon gets a different job, and he proposes the shop to his new company and is like, hey, this would be a really good investment, you should do this. And they buy the shop and he gives it back to Quinn to run. And yeah, I thought that was really cute and a really like nice kind of round circle moment. And I also really like that kind of idea of like these people kind of that are technically family, because obviously they're step cousins, they are family, but like they're not really close. And then obviously that relationship, because basically the mum leaves Harold because she's like, how dare you do this to my son. It took her long enough, but she did do it. And then obviously that family tie is broken, but like they're still kind of step cousins at the end of the day, and they are still there for each other, and they've built this new bond. I really like that kind of like those family dynamics, those complicated family dynamics of like this person was brought into your family, and then that kind of thing that brought them in was broken. Then it's kind of like, well, do they go away now or do they stay? Or like, are we like still close? Like, we're never close to begin with, but like, I really like that. I thought that was a very interesting part of the book. The mum. Okay, let's talk about the mum and Harold. I really struggled to see how she was staying with Harold throughout all of this. Like, I understand she was still grieving from the death of Quinn's father, who is a big kind of part within this book. There's a lot of parts where Quinn goes to the grave of his father, and there's like a robin who symbolizes that the father is there listening to Quinn. That's the whole thing. And they're both still grieving. And obviously the mum just wants to be in a relationship. She wants to be loved. That's fair enough. But like, this man is trying to evict your only son from his shop, his whole livelihood, and is basically being a bastard. He's like such an asshole, and you're just like, oh, please don't kick my son out of his shop. Please don't do it. Quinn, I tried to tell him. And then I'm like, girl, do something. Come on. And at the very end, she does join at the protest and ultimately leaves him because but it takes him actually taking the shop away from Quinn for her to actually see what an asshole he is. And I'm like, why did it take this long? Why did it take this long? But I appreciate that you left him, but why did it take so long? Your son had to literally lose everything before you were like, oh, maybe I shouldn't be like with the person that's doing this to my son. I can't imagine how awkward that would have been. Like, if they'd have just stayed together after that, and like maybe Quinn had kept it up, it would still be very awkward because it's like, you treated me like this, you treat me like shit. And I don't know. I'm trying to kind of get all my thoughts together. Oh, there was someone that works at the shop called Daniel Craig, and there's this running joke of like, no, he's not in the James Bond film. And basically Daniel starts off as straight, or at least assuming that he himself is straight, but then he kind of starts to uncover his own sexuality, and he starts exploring, and he ultimately meets a guy called James Bond. What is this book? James Bond and Daniel Craig, who, if you don't know, Daniel Craig is the real life actor of James Bond. James Bond is a character of like a spy. And I just thought that was a step too far of a coincidence to have like Daniel Craig and James Bond as both being their own characters in this book, and then ended up dating. I thought it was very weird. And like Quinn like laughed at it as well, because when Daniel is introducing James, Quinn goes, oh, your second name's not Bond, is it? And he's like, actually it is. And I'm like, okay, you do you. But yeah, I think I've said everything that I need to say that's on my head. I mainly just wanted to rant about Noah, because I just thought he was like the worst book boyfriend ever. Like, you can disagree with me in the comments below, explain to me like why he wasn't, but like, he was never there for Quinn. He wasn't there for the protest, he wasn't there for the signing that he promised he would do. Yeah, he donated £100 to like one of Quinn's donations, but like, you can't really buy love. That's kind of like weird. The cheating vibes with Matty, and I know Matty was kind of like retroactively painted as an asshole the entire time, but he really wasn't that much of an asshole to begin with until like Quinn and Noah wanted to be together. Like, I don't know. I didn't like Noah. Like, Oh, I want to quickly touch on the Ivy and Bloody Bear Beckett. So Bloody Bear Beckett Bloody Blair Beckett. I can't say the name. It's a tongue twister. That like plosive B is like really hard for me. But Bloody Blair is a news reporter. Quinn and Ivy had this running joke of calling him Bloody Blair Beckett. And him and Ivy end up together, and they're actually quite cute. Like, I was not expecting it. I was expecting Blair to be like a thorn in our side this entire book. Like, maybe he was going to be like the anti-news channel that was like, no, this shop needs to close. But actually, Blair came in clutch. Like, he did book signings with his 10-year-old book that no one really cared about. But because it was part of this movement, they were like, you know what, let's go to the book signing. And then Blair got his moment of fame that he had been wanting. But Blair ended up being such a different character to what I expected, and I quite like that. I like that subversion of my expectation that Blair was going to be like an empty-headed idiot who just reported false news or whatever, like, because that's what it felt like it was going to lead up to. But then he ended up becoming like this integral part of the group of like helping Quinn save the bookshop. I really like that. I really like Bloody Bear Beckett and his relationship with Ivy. I like that it was kind of built up in the background. We kind of saw their cute moments, but it wasn't spotlighted too much. But yeah, I think I'm going to get into some of the quotes that I highlighted, and maybe it will remind me of some thoughts I had. But yeah, I'm just rambling at this point. I hated Noah. Make me think otherwise. You can't. I didn't like him. Okay, I'm gonna get my iPad. Okay, I have my iPad, so you can probably see like the lighting. Also, look at my t-shirt. It says New York. There's like a nice, it's got like a nice embroidered thing on it. Anyway, so I have my iPad, so that's what the lighting is on my face. Okay, so let's have a look. There was a very interesting subversion that I forgot to mention of this. So basically with Hermione, she was wanting to write an autobiography. I don't think I actually like specified that within this book. I kind of just mentioned she was there. But no, she wanted to write a memoir or like an autobiography, and she wanted a ghostwriter. So she put out kind of like, hey, apply to be my ghostwriter. Quinn applies, and I was like, what are you doing? Why are you applying to write up your potential lover's mum's memoirs? That's like without even telling him. And I was like, no, this is gonna end badly. There's gonna be like stuff behind the back. Little did I know about cheating. But there's gonna be like stuff behind each other's back. It's gonna be really weird. They're gonna be avoiding each other in the house. But no, Quinn ultimately does tell Noah, and we are led to believe that Noah's going to freak out, but actually Noah just takes him to the house and is like, hey, I'm so happy you're going to write my mum's memoirs. And that was a good subversion. I quite like that we didn't have to suffer through the whole, how could you lie to me? You've been meeting my mum to write her memoirs in secret. I'm really glad it didn't go down that route. I really like that subversion of like Noah just being chill with it and be like, no, if anyone's going to write the memoir, I think it should be you. You're going to do justice to it. And we have an example of how I think this book did better pop culture references than Finding My Elf, which I think was strongly because it did it less often. I feel it did less often than Finding My Elf, and like I said, it was less obvious that it was like, hey, I had my Will Smith moment. No, it was more subtle, and it was basically like this. Quinn woke up to his mobile phone ringing, blasting the voice of Mariah Carey's famous Christmas song. He loved the song, but all he wanted for Christmas was to sleep. And like, that's funny, that's cute, that's a nice little reference. That's why I think it was just a lot more subtle, but like still kind of like a funny line, you know. It's better than Finding My Elf, sorry. Not dissing Finding My Elf. I rate both these books the same. They both got 4 stars, so I don't know why I'm pitting them against each other. So the next one, if I had a penny for every time RuPaul was mentioned in one of these gay rom-coms, I would have 2 pennies now. And that's not a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice, because in Look Up Handsome, we get a reference to RuPaul's Drag Race again, exactly like Finding My Elf. And this one was, he felt like a drag queen standing before RuPaul at the deciding lip sync, waiting for the words, good luck and don't fuck it up. Now, I don't know why RuPaul keeps getting like brought up in these books. Like, he's not the only like queer icon, but okay, can we go with someone else for the next book? Okay. I just thought it was funny, and I immediately took a picture. I was like, oh look, RuPaul's here again. So we have Miriam Margolyes and RuPaul at this point now. I mean, RuPaul wasn't actually there, he was referenced, but so. Then we have another one. And I really like this kind of subtle jab at the Bible and just being so nonchalant about it. So basically, the context is there's a bunch of people outside the shop or something like that. And Quinn goes, The sea of people parted, like that dude in the Bible did once. Only it was an actual sea, and not a small crowd of middle-aged locals of hay on wine. Have I been saying twine this entire time? I don't know why I said that. It's wine. Hay on wine. And I just love the shug-off reference to the Bible. Like, yeah, some dude did it in the Bible. I don't know anything about it. I'm gay. Let's move on. I love that so much. Oh, there's this funny moment with Blair. I should have put this when I was talking about Blair. But basically, I love Blair. He's kind of a shug-off character as well. No one really cares about him, but like he wants us to be famous. And there's this moment where they're having like a town meeting. Quinn's trying to be like, hey guys, how can we like raise awareness of the bookshop? How can we save my bookshop? And they bring up book signings, and Quinn goes, we actually have one author lined up. Keep an eye out for details on that. Oh, that's Ivy said, that's right. So Ivy said that, and then the crowd is like, who? And then someone stands up and goes, me! and then it goes, Blair Beckett raises his hand. A few people in the audience let out a half-hearted cheers. Any other signings? Someone asked. Blair dropped his hand. Not right now, Quinn said. Oh, poor Blair. That was so cute. That's like, me! I'm signing! And they're like, is gonna be anyone like else like signing? Like, oh. And then Blair's like, oh, okay. That was very cute, very funny. Poor Blair. I'm here for you, Blair. Oh, and then there is a cat in this book. There wasn't a cat in Finding My Elf, which was very remiss because I feel like there should be a cat in every book. Okay, so there was a quick cat kind of cameo in this book. It wasn't a huge part of the book. It was kind of just there for a moment, and then we never saw it again. But basically, the quote is very like stereotypical cat. It's like, there was a meow, and then a thud followed by the fluffiest cat Quinn had ever seen. Orange eyes contrasted with tortoise shell fur, and its tail looked more like a fluffy brush. Without thinking, Quill fell to his knees like an olden day peasant seeing their king for the first time. Mr. Lavender, the cat, trotted straight past Quinn, because of course he did, and rubbed himself inside and around Noah's legs. Never had Quinn been so jealous of a cat. Quinn cleared his throat, getting to his feet, and Noah was laughing. That was such a cute moment. Fuck you, Noah. I thought that was really cute. I just wanted to write that down. That was before the cheating stuff. I liked Mr. Lavender. He was there for that one moment. We'd never see him again. I hope he's doing well. I hope he was at the protest. This really seemed unjustified. Oh, here's how they like demonize Matty at the end. Like a bit of it. So Quinn has this kind of weird, like, inner monologue moment, like some intrusive thoughts about killing Matty, and it came so out of nowhere. And like, I was like, actually, this was before we got the whole. This was just Noah saying, "Oh yeah, I haven't really been feeling that much towards. I've not really been feeling much towards Matty recently." It was like, and then we had this, and then later on we had the whole, he's just a nepo baby. So this did actually feel very out of nowhere, and it was kind of the first step in demonizing Matty. So it goes that he was meant to be with Noah, or that a bond should form between them. Matty, the devil, was in the way. But what could Quinn do about that? Kill him and bury him in the castle. Those intrusive thoughts did not help. But what better way to save your shop than have a murder scandal distract Harold? Stop it! Like, that's Quinn's inner monologue. And that felt really kind of like weird. Like, are you okay in the head? You're not helping the cheating allegations. Wanting to kill off the partner of the person you want to be with so that you can be with them. Saying Matty's in the way. You're not helping the cheating allegations, babe. You're not helping. Okay. So yeah, I just that quote, like, Matty, the devil. Why is he the devil? He's just with the guy he loved. That makes him like the ultimate evil in the world. Like, Matty the devil was in the way. Fuck you, Quinn. Like, I had no issue with you, Quinn, because you were kind of torn up about the cheating kind of stuff as well. But like, fuck you, Quinn. Calling Matty the devil, especially at this point in the book, like, doesn't make sense. Yeah, that was my last quote. So yeah, sorry. That was the second book. in this video. This video has like been very rambly. I am having the best time with this video. I want to do like a whole series. I like doing this. This has made me want to do, I want to do a whole series called, now don't hold me to this if this never happens, but I want to do like a playlist of videos called If It's Gay, ... That's the title of the thing. And I want to read like 3 to 4 queer books about a specific niche. And that's like the series of like reading all these gay bookstores, reading all these gay stories, because I love me an MLM. I don't know the acronym probably, but like just gay guys. I want to do a whole playlist of like If It's Gay, because that's my genre, you know, like I love that. So yeah, I feel like because I've done one before. I did like Be Gay Eat Cake, which was about reading gay rom-coms featuring food or like featuring baking, and now I'm doing a Christmas one, so I feel like I should make it a series. Okay, let me know what you think in the comments below. I could do a zombie one, I could do a post-apocalyptic one, I could do a sports one. I'm not a biggest sports fan, but I have some gay sports book. Travel. I have like I have a pile of books and I'm just looking at them like, what can I do? Let me know what you think down in the comments. But anyway, let's get into book 3, which I don't have next to me right now, but it's called The Merriest Misters, and it has the most insane plot ever, but you'll have to wait and find out. Okay, that was my ramble for the second book. I don't know how long this video's ended up being. Let's go to the third book. Let's go. Okay, bye. See you in the next book. Bye. So I've now finished the third and final book of this video. It's a very merry video that is definitely not coming out at the end of December, if not January by the time I edit this. We're going to pretend it's not Boxing Day right now, but ignore that. It's Christmas somewhere. Let's talk about The Merriest Mister by Timothy Janovsky. Now, this book was absolutely wild in its concept, but I do have a few critiques. Okay, so a little bit of a synopsis for this book before we dive into spoiler territory is this book follows 2 newlywed gay guys who have recently married, bought their dream home instead of going on a honeymoon, and now they are kind of struggling to kind of find how they fit together. They're having a bit of a rough time. They don't really see eye to eye on everything, and it's ultimately led them to feeling like they've rushed things. So it's a very tense relationship. We have one character called Patrick, who is very much just trying to fulfill the values of success that his parents have instilled in him. He feels like he has to prove himself to them. He has to get all this stuff. He has to get a house. He has to get a husband. He has to be a successful architect. But that all starts going wrong when he is fired from his job for a mess up that we see at the start of the book. And he kind of spirals from there. And then the other half of the couple is Quinn, who is kind of becoming disillusioned with the American education system. He is a teacher within it, and after following some instances of, for example, he had a wedding photo on his desk which the school board made him remove because parents had complained. After instances like this, and obviously the overload of stress that teachers in general just have, he's kind of becoming disillusioned with not only his work but also with the stress of his home life, feeling like he's rushed things. It's not looking good for this couple. So on the night of Christmas, a mysterious man seems to break into the house and they whack him around the head with a frying pan, and it turns out they think they may have killed Santa Claus, and the book follows them as they kind of take on the role of Santa Claus and the Merriest Mister, which is a replacement for Mrs. Claus. And yeah, we see the holiday hijinks of them, these two kind of struggling relationship, trying to get through, also fulfilling all these demands of Christmas around the world. There's magic involved in here. There's lots of queer joy, and yeah, it's a cute festive holiday read. Definitely maybe pick it up next Christmas now, since Christmas is now over. But yeah, definitely recommend keeping this on your radar for next year. But yeah, I'm still going to talk about it here because I'm a procrastinator and I've ruined this video by not posting it before Christmas, but hopefully you forgive me. But yeah, that was a synopsis for this book. 2 guys in a kind of an iffy relationship kind of beat up Santa and have to take on the position of Santa in return, and yeah, it's a mess, it's fun, it's enjoyable. I really liked it. So some non-spoilery thoughts, like I just said, I enjoyed this book. It was quick. I literally just finished it a couple of hours ago. I was sprinting it all day yesterday and today, trying to get it done in a reasonable time because I knew I wasn't going to get this up by Christmas at this point, but I wanted to at least get it up by the end of December, hopefully. But yeah, I enjoyed this book. I found the relationship between them very interesting. I liked how different they were, because I think oftentimes these kind of books can have two characters, especially when it's dual POV. This is a dual POV book that we see from both Patrick and Quinn, and I feel like sometimes it can get a bit hard to distinguish the two characters. For example, in All the Light That's Left in the World, I think I've just merged the first and the second book in that thing, but the one that I read in a previous video, All the Light That's Left in the World, the End of the World one, the two characters in that one, very similar to this, was dual POV. It was two guys, and they just felt so similar, and I couldn't really distinguish them. They didn't really feel like separate characters. They felt like just one vision of a relationship, and they weren't two different units, if I'm making sense. Whereas this one, I feel like we had very distinct motivations of both of the characters. I really liked that Patrick was really into the idea of finding a new place in the world after getting fired from his architectural firm, and I really like Quinn kind of being like, well, maybe we should reevaluate our relationship before we dive into moving to the North Pole. So yeah, I really like the distinctness of the characters. I do feel like some of the side characters could have been developed more, which I think is an oft criticism of these kind of books. Is like, for example, Veronica, the best friend character, is literally just that. She's the best friend. There's nothing much more to her character. We obviously get the kind of subtle ending tied up for her at the end. She has a dog, but other than that, there's not really much going on with Veronica, and for a big majority of this book, she's not even there. So yeah, I just feel like some of the side characters like that could have had a bit more to do. I feel like the side with Patrick and living up to his parents' expectations kind of started off really well. It was developed really well, but I feel like at the end it was kind of like, I don't feel as fulfilled as I wish I could be. Like, I think this could have been more influential, but I feel like I'm stepping into kind of some spoilery territory now, so I'm going to refrain from saying any more from that. But yes, the ending was a little bit abrupt, which I feel like I say a lot for these kind of books, and maybe it's just me, it's a problem with me. I never enjoy endings. I always find them abrupt. But yeah, I found the ending abrupt, but I think it didn't really take my picture of this book. I did enjoy it. I gave it 4 stars overall, which has been a running theme. Every book in this video has been 4 stars. It's going to be fun to rank these. But yeah, the Merriest Misters, it was fun. I don't know what more to say. It was very cute. I like the holiday vibes. This was probably the most Christmassy one, purely because we were seeing our characters actively be Santa Claus and be in the North Pole surrounded by elves and like making gifts, and all the stereotypical Christmas stuff was in this book. So it was impossible not to be the most Christmassy one here. But yeah, let's get into some spoilers for this book. This one I don't have as much to say as I did on the other ones, so buckle in, we're nearly at the end of the video. Okay, let's get into some spoilers now. So let's get into some spoilers for the Merriest Misters. Now first, I just want to start off with saying, if I had a coin for every time a main character in one of these books that I was reading in the vlog was called Quinn, then I would have 2 coins, which isn't a lot, but it's very coincidental, okay? Because I felt like Quinn is quite a unique name. So just to have it twice, just without, like, I didn't intend for that. It was a complete coincidence that I didn't even read the characters of this when I bought it. It was just weird. They were both called the Quinn, so I was like diving from one Quinn to the other. But yeah, I really enjoyed this one. I liked the ending of kind of settling on, like, yes, we don't need to both agree on one thing. We can have like our own things going on and still be in love, if that makes sense. I like that Patrick stayed in the North Pole because that's where he was thriving, and it really felt like he had found his purpose. He was a completely different character to what we saw in the first couple of chapters, where he was very insecure. He was overthinking a lot about his job and what he should tell Quinn, and he felt like a terrible person because he kept letting people down, and it was all weighing down on him. And I thought the writing was very good in kind of presenting that. It did feel like a man who was very overwhelmed with his work and felt like he was failing everyone and falling behind. And I think Janovsky did a great job in portraying that. And then compared to the end where he has found his purpose, he's finding a lot of success in the North Pole, redesigning the factories and making amendments. Well, he's not personally making the amendments, but he's inspiring making amendments to the bylaws of Santa Claus. What did I just say? The bylaws of being Santa Claus. He's like making really big changes in the North Pole for the better. And I think his reflections on that within his POVs are very telling that this has affected me in such a good way. And similar on Quinn's side, he kind of steps back from the North Pole. He saw it as an escape for a year because initially it was just going to be a year-long thing, and he goes in with that mind. And then when we have a bit of tension, when Patrick's like, hey, I built you a dream home, do you want to stay at the North Pole? And he's like, but that's not what we agreed. And I was viewing this as a vacation. I really like that tension. It felt very mature and very grown up, kind of a discussion to have with the two viewpoints. So Quinn leaving the North Pole and going back and just kind of doing up the house and having that very kind of lonely but not lonely time to himself to kind of reinvigorate his love for the dream house that they had already had in New Jersey that they had, and they both kind of hated it. And now stepping back into it, he's doing it up in his own way, and he's having the time to kind of get things in place which they didn't have when they rushed to the wedding and buying the house in the first place. And yeah, and he does allude to this idea that he's never had time alone. He went from the stage of growing up with parents, then he went into college where he had roommates, and then he was straight into a relationship with Patrick, and then the whole book happened, and now he's finally has time to himself and he can reflect on things. So yeah, I guess what I'm trying to say is I just like kind of the resolution to this. It felt very mature. I feel like it could have easily gone, well, we may as well just move to the North Pole and live this, or oh, the North Pole was great, we fixed our relationship, we can both go home. I thought it was very mature of Janovsky, I don't know if I'm saying that right, to have them both get what they needed and still be together. And they figure out, well, we always wanted this kind of different relationship, we never wanted a traditional relationship, but they end up with a relationship catered towards them and their love and their relationship, and it just works for them. And I thought that was very cool. So he takes off time in January, he comes home every weekend, and yeah, I just like it. It's like long distance, but not, because one's in the North Pole and one's in New Jersey, and they make it work. But yeah, I love the ending of that. It was very cool. It all came together really well. I don't know if I'm saying that because I just finished it, and hindsight might change that, but I enjoyed it. The whole magic system of the North Pole felt very developed, but also not developed. In terms of like, we got lots of explanations. We got like the golden magic was explained to be how they kind of, the magic manifested itself. I like that the magic was very dependent on the love between the Santa and the Merriest Misters / the Mrs. Claus / whatever. And it was like very dependent on that, and I like that kind of all went wrong at one point. I really enjoyed when things went wrong and all the magic was backfiring, and we saw like, oh, the ribbons are turning to snakes, it's like snowstorming, everything's sludge, the ice rink has melted. Like, I liked all the mishaps. That was very fun. Well, not fun for the characters, but I enjoyed reading it because it was very interesting to see how the different things went wrong. But yeah, I like that the magic was dependent on love. I feel like there can be a very cheesy aspect of these kind of novels and stuff, but I don't know, it didn't bother me in this one too much. Yeah, I really enjoyed the magic, but I do feel like I would have liked a bit more explanation. I felt like the whole backstory of Santa, it was very convenient. Like, this guy just, yeah, he had magic and then he kept using it and it got more powerful and he just kept using it and everything built up, and he was just spreading joy, and that's what he was doing. He just found the elves and just started working with them, and they were happy to just make toys for him forever. Like, do they get paid? Like, I don't know. I don't know. But they have a lovely village. I would have liked a bit more kind of grounded explanation around that. And also I'm very confused because I don't know if it's just like the Americanness of this novel, but it felt like the elves were very much like, I'm just going to say like the Harry Potter elves, because they are just constantly worked and they're just happy to be worked, and not one of them kind of shows begrudgingness to like work or anything. I'm just like, how idealistic that all these elves are just happy to be in work every day, every day, doing the same thing every day. Just for their entire mortal lives, immortal lives. They are happy to just make toys for random children and spread joy, because that's what they do. That's very like a nitpicky thing to say. Like, there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. I just felt like it was very convenient and very weird that every elf was just like, yeah, this is what I do for my entire immortal life. It's just making toys. I don't want to go off and explore the world or anything like that. I'm going off on a tangent. That I don't know what to say for this book, to be honest with you. It was just pure joy and bliss, and I don't have any strong criticisms like I did with the previous books, like Look Up Handsome. I really didn't like the love interest Noah Sage, and with the Finding My Elf, I just thought it was so cheesy. There was so much to kind of pull apart. But with this one, it just felt like a very just like, this book exists, it's joyful, it's cute. I don't know what to say. I have no strong criticisms. I have no strong kind of like, this was the best thing ever. I'm just kind of mid-ground for it, and that's why it's 4 stars. Yeah, it was cute. Oh, and talking about side characters as well, I mentioned Veronica, but also I would like a bit more development with the stuff with Patrick and his parents, because I feel like it was really well developed, and I like that kind of tension, specifically between the mum and Quinn as well, because obviously in-laws are the worst. But then at the end, it just kind of resolves very quickly, and the dad just kind of accepts that his son is Santa now. I don't know, it just felt very rushed, and the whole Bradley thing as well kind of felt like it started in the middle of the book and then was like a major thing at the end. It was like a major realization for Patrick, and I feel like Bradley should have been in the book a little bit more towards the start to kind of like establish that he was there, because Bradley kind of came back into the plot, and I was like, who the fuck is Bradley? And then it was like, I don't, you know, I'm coming out of this and I don't even know if Bradley is the older brother or the younger brother, or whether they're the same age. I don't actually know. Although I do think it was said that Bradley was 18 at one point when he wrote that letter to... okay, Bradley was the older one, okay, but I didn't know that immediately, which I think is telling, okay? Coming out of the book, I didn't even immediately know if Bradley was older or younger, but I feel like he should have been earlier in the book as well. Katie, or Katie, I can't remember the name now, Katie, one of the two, who was kind of Quinn's friend. She runs kind of a charity, and she does like volunteering events for queer youth and homeless youth and stuff like that. And she was also, again, like Bradley, was kind of this side piece that we would use, not that kind of side piece. She was kind of this side element of the plot that was used when she was needed, but then completely forgotten for the rest of the book. I feel like she could have been a bit more into it, and particularly Patrick's kind of guilt of not giving her the plans that he'd promised to when he promised to redesign her space for things. I feel like that could have been played on a little bit more, because it kind of just like, oh, I kind of feel guilty about that. Here's an entire new workstation for you that I'm just gonna pop in your back garden, which I also thought was very weird. Like, she's not gonna have any like work life social balance there. Like, her work is now in her back garden. Like, great, she can never escape work. But yeah, it was very cute that he gave her the entire shop. Anyway, but yeah, like I said, some of those side elements, Katie, Bradley, Veronica, could have been brought into the novel a bit more. I know it was mainly about Patrick and Quinn's relationship, and that kind of struggle to kind of see eye to eye, and that hardship of being like, did we rush things? I don't know, young love. But yeah, I feel like they could have been interlaced within the story a little bit better and a little bit more concurrently, you know. But yeah, I like the cover. I like the cover. Oh, I have some quotes on my iPad actually. So yeah, I have a quote specifically from when Santa first arrives and we are in Patrick's POV, and he thinks there's a home intruder. He's just kind of had a little bit of an argument with Quinn because he blew out the fuse putting all the lights up, and Quinn's like, I'm going to bed. So Patrick's going down, fixing the fuse box, and then coming up to bed, but on his way he hears a noise, and this is when Santa comes in, but he doesn't know it's Santa. It kind of takes him a while to realise that it's Santa. Like, I know that's a hard realisation to just accept that Santa's a real person, and I think maybe I was expecting him to realise it more because I'm reading a Christmas book. Like, I know it's a Christmas book, whereas he doesn't. He's just kind of... Anyway, he assumes that it's just a guy dressed as Santa robbing his house. But in Patrick's inner monologue, we hear, in front of me, the intruder struggles to lift the glass with his mitten-covered hand to wash down his snack. But when he finally does, the milk goes flying in the air. Ew, fuck, what is that? Oat milk? Disgusting. That was kind of funny. I laughed out loud at that bit. Okay, I will admit. Okay, and then we have another one that I found kind of funny from Patrick. The thing is, the writing wasn't as cringy as it was in like Finding My Elf and some of the lines in Look Up Handsome, but they were, I think, inherently with these kind of Christmassy stories, there are going to be kind of like cringy lines, especially when Santa is like a real entity within the book and the like magic is just real. I think there will be some kind of weird phrasing and some weird structure. So this isn't like criticism of the book at all. Like, I find these lines funny and I think it shows that I have them written down. It was a good thing. It's a good thing. I'm being nice, okay? So again from Patrick, it says, could I, Patrick Hardgrave, of sound mind and queer heart from suburban New Jersey, be Santa Claus? I love it so much. That's so funny. That's only from page 77. Oh, and there is a character. So we see, this is actually Quinn's POV, not Patrick's. But we see Quinn, who has a really strong heart for like helping the youth, and he's currently a teacher, but he's like, it's not his thing at all. He's very disillusioned, like I said, with the American education system and kind of like the pressures of teaching students towards exams rather than as the individuals and finding themselves. So he's very much more looking for a role in mentoring children and just working with children on a one-to-one basis, and helping develop them and their competence, specifically queer youth. And he ends up working with Casey/Katie with her charity. But yeah, he meets a young elf whilst he is in the North Pole, and this is kind of the first step of him realising that he doesn't want to be in the North Pole indefinitely like Patrick does. He meets like a little cute elf called Mick Flurry. Flurry the elf. I love that. And it says, I doubt this elf has ever heard of McDonald's, boycott McDonald's, and its staple ice cream concoction. So I don't make the obvious joke. I swallow my laugh and give them a friendly smile. It's nice to meet you, Mick. Where were you for the auditions? Blah, 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 blah. I just, that was so funny. That it was just an elf called Mick Flurry. Yeah. I just found that funny. It was so random. And then a cute little quote to round us off is again from Patrick. So sorry, Quinn, your Patrick is 3 for 4 here. But Patrick says, no matter the universe, I'd pick you, which I just found really cute. I should probably round it off here. It's been 20 minutes. I said I wasn't going to talk that long. So the Merriest Misters, enjoyed it. Very cute. This video was very fun. So let's rank the book. So yeah, that was Merriest Misters. Check it out. Very fun. I mean, you're watching the spoilery section. You probably already read it, but very cute. I did this one. Okay, so let's round this video off by ranking the books. I do like a little bit of a ranking. And this is going to be hard because all of these books, so a little bit of a refresher, is there's Finding My Elf by David Valdes. There's Look Up Handsome by Jack Strange, and then obviously The Merriest Misters by Timothy Janovsky. Now, like I said, it's gonna be hard to rank these because they are all 4-star reads for me, which is a quite complete coincidence. And it's just how I felt when I finished them. I was like, yeah, 4 stars, very cute. None of them really like scratched that itch of like, this is awesome, I'm gonna give it 5 stars, and none of them were like, yeah, 3 stars. So yeah, all comfortable 4 stars. In all fairness, there should have been a 3 stars, but I just found it so funny. So yeah, I'm sorry, I'm just looking at them. I'm like, how would I rank these? Let me have a little look. So I think I could either do this on like quality, in my opinion, or I could do it in enjoyment. Let's do both. Okay, we'll do like the quality of like the ones I think is the best to read if you're looking for like a queer Christmas rom-com, and the one that's not really that good. So I think quality wise, I think Look Up Handsome has the strongest writing. It has the most succinct plot. It feels like there's more going on than just the romance. And although I don't particularly like Nicholas Sage, I do think other people will. I just very like picked on those things that made me really not like him. But I think overall it stood on its own really well. And I think even without Christmas. Like, you could just read this at any point of the year. Yes, it's like revolves around Christmas time, but it's not inherently a Christmas story. It's the story of Quinn fighting for his bookshop that just so happens to be being taken away from him at Christmas. So I think this one is the strongest of the three. I think, yeah, it has the best quality writing and the best kind of subplots, and everything kind of feels developed to the same kind of level compared to the other ones. And then, okay, this is where it gets. Then I would say probably the Merriest Misters. It relied less on kind of cringy connections to pop culture, which is why the next one is where it is. But I think, again, the writing is very strong in this one. It just jumped around quite a bit, which I didn't say in my review. There's points where the plot just like, we're gonna do this presentation. Okay, and then once we've done the presentation, we did this. And it's like kind of just like jumps from one, like, oh, the presentation, we got to plan for the presentation, to like, oh yeah, the presentation's done, so now we're doing this. So it just kind of jumped around a bit, which I forgot to mention in my review. But other than that, it's very succinct and very interesting, and I liked the characters the most about the story. And I really like the magic elements of this, and it was a bit of a change because the other two were kind of very contemporary, whereas this one had those magical elements, so it was very fun. But this is quality wise, and I think the magic added a bit more to the writing. Anyway, this is not a serious video at all, Jesus Christ. And then the final one based on quality, I would say it's Finding My Elf. I need to say any more? You've heard the quotes that I pulled out from this. I think this one relies too much on like pop culture references, and it tries so hard to be relevant almost within the current climate of 2024 and stuff. But yeah, it just, I think going into it, it was cute, it was fun, but quality wise, I think the other two were stronger. And I feel like this one needed a lot of work, especially with kind of the editing process of this one. Like I said, the misgendering of his own characters in this book was kind of abrupt and very like, I noticed it straight away. So it's not something like, I don't know why no one picked that up on the giant chain of people this book would have gone through. Why was that not picked up? So yeah, I just feel like a couple more edits, a bit more development around the characters, and this one could have been more interesting, but it was a good plot, and I'm not bashing it at all. It was good. It just, something had to come last, okay? Okay, now ranking them on just pure enjoyment, putting aside whether I think they're good or not, I think the best one out of three that I read that I enjoyed the most was Finding My Elf. This was so funny, and I know I just bashed it, but it was funny. The pop culture moments, like, although they were very jarring, it was just very funny to just read this and be like, where did this come from? And like texting it my friends again, their responses. It was very fun. It was very fun, enjoyable. It was so good. I enjoyed this one a lot. It was very weird. Okay, and then the next one based on enjoyment, I'm really struggling here. These are very much similar. I would say Merriest Misters, I think I would say the Merriest Misters. So we're going 2 for 2 for the Merriest Misters being in the middle. Like I said, just really enjoyed the magic elements of this one. It made it a bit more, it kind of broke up the monotony of these books, because obviously these two are contemporary. It could have easily got repetitive if I read a third one that was contemporary. So I really liked the breakup of that with the magical elements. And I like the characters a lot more in this one. They were a lot more enjoyable. I liked the drama between Quinn and Patrick. I liked the elves. There's a side elf called Hobart, who's kind of like the head elf character, who's kind of introducing Quinn and Patrick to the North Pole. I liked him. I thought it was funny. There was obviously the jokes in there. It was cute. It was fun. And in last place, unfortunately, is Look Up Handsome. I think enjoyability wise, there was a lot to be enjoyed, but my hatred for, well, I feel like hatred is a strong word. I don't hate him, I just strongly dislike him. My strong dislike for Nicholas Sage, the main love interest of this book, just kind of overshadows the enjoyment of this book. Like, I feel like I'd have enjoyed it more if he wasn't such a dick. But yeah, that would be my ranking. So we two rankings. We basically just went doop, doop with that. But yeah, those are the 3 books I'll be doing in this video. I rambled long enough, so thank you for reading this video. Thank you so much for watching this video. This has probably been the most fun I've had in a video for a long time. Like, I've really enjoyed making this video and reading these books. I don't know if it's like the Christmas cheer in me, but I enjoyed this video and I think I've had a lot of laughs, and I hope that comes off in this video. So leave a like, comment and subscribe if it did. Let me know your thoughts on these books in the comments below, or if you have any recommendations for the potential series that I'm going to do about If It's Gay. I think that's what I would call it, which is gonna, I'm gonna do it. I think I'm gonna do it. So if you have any like suggestions for kind of like maybe ideas like theatre gays or stuff like that, let me know down in the comments and give me some book recommendations for those. I think the next one I'll do is the gay zombie books, because I have some in mind and I really want to read zombie books. So I think let's start off 2025 with some zombies. But yeah, you know what, let's do If It's Gay as a series. I'll still be doing obviously wider queer videos in this book, but I want to have a little bit of a spotlight for my buddies, because that's but yeah, I'm very excited for that now. So yeah, leave recommendations for books in the comments below, and kind of different ideas that I could do, maybe like construction gays, or like, I don't know, Australian gays, I don't know. But yeah, leave your thoughts in the comments below. Also, I hope you all had like really good holidays, whether you celebrate Christmas or not. I hope you just had a nice break from work or from school or college or wherever you are. I hope you had a really good time. Let's go into 2025 with a smile on our faces and some hopeful goals that we will not achieve, whether that be bookish or not. But yeah, stay safe and I'll see you next year. I say that hoping that I get this up in December, but I'll see you next year. Thanks for watching. It's been a lot of fun. I'll get up my best and worst books of 2024 out as soon as I can after this one. And I also have like a Christmas haul I want to do and an Unhaul, so there's that as well. So plenty to look forward to in the coming new year. So yeah, please subscribe, stick around. I'd love to have you. Let's talk in the comments.